Okay, let's get started. We're reading to chapter 5 today. Lady Elanor stared drearily at the wall. She wished her governess, Mistress Maldred, would at least put her by the window so she had something to look at while she was strapped in her backboard. She wished Mistress Maldred had chosen a lighter book than A Lady's Complete Guide to Manners, Morals, and Modesty to balance on top of her head. She wished Mistress Maldred would come back and unstrap her. Suddenly there was a terrible screeching noise. Elanor looked slowly towards the sound, careful not to make the book topple off her head. A section of the oak paneling in her room flung open, and a boy and a dog came crashing through onto the floor. The boy was very dirty. The dog was very large and very hairy. Elanor stared in astonishment. The boy sat up, rubbing his head. His dusty blonde hair fell into his eyes, which were as blue as the vase of forget-me-nots on Eleanor's table. "Get off of me," he said, pushing the dog away. The dog licked him lovingly. "Must you always lick me?" the boy complained. "You have the wettest tongue in the world." He looked up and saw Elanor. She stared back at him. He stared back. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Lady Elanor Morena Grace de Belleterre, daughter of Wolfgang de Belleterre, Lord of Wolfhaven Castle." She smoothed her green silk dress over her knee. "Fungus!" Tom exclaimed, then went red. "Sorry, I shouldn't." "I don't mind," Elanor said quickly. "So who are you?" "I'm Tom Pippin, the cook's son." "What are you doing here?" "Someone was chasing me." "Why?" He shrugged. "It doesn't really matter. I'm sorry to crash in on you. I don't know where I was." "No matter," she said. "Why do you have a book on top of your head?" "A lady must always hold her head high," Elanor replied. "And why are you strapped up to that thing? A lady must not slump." "Do you want to be strapped up like that?" "Not in the least." "Would you like me to unstrap you?" "If you would be so kind." Tom unstrapped her and took the thick, heavy book off her head, tossing it onto a chair. Elanor rubbed her sore neck. "Have you been strapped up for long?" "Feels like half the day," she answered. "Thank you for releasing me." "No problem," he replied, looking round the room. Elanor wondered what he thought of it. By the way, his eyes widened with amazement. She guessed he was not used to seeing such a grand room. Hung with velvet curtains the colors of lilacs, her bed was set up on a stage, and was big enough for 20. Her chair, upholstered in lilac velvet too, was big enough for 5. The boy's eyes stopped upon her tea tray, set on the table near the fireplace. His mouth fell open. "Are you hungry?" she asked. "Starving," he replied. "Would you care to join me for tea?" "Would I?" he cried, then hesitated. "What if someone comes in?" he asked. "No one will," she answered. "And if they do, you can escape out that secret door again." She regarded the doorway with thoughtful eyes, and decided it was best not to mention it to Mistress Maldred. "Would you mind shutting it for now?" As Tom shut the secret door, Elanor piled a plate with cucumber and borage sandwiches, tiny scones with damson plum jam and cream, silvers of cold ham, and a roasted quail egg, encrusted with salt and thyme. She then passed the laden plate to Tom. Tom dropped in his chair, seized his plate, and began to eat enthusiastically. Fergus sat by his side, his shaggy head level with Tom's shoulder, and fixed him with imploring eyes. Tom tossed him some ham, which he snapped and swallowed in a single gulp. Elanor filled her own plate, then put the platter of ham down on the floor in front of Fergus. With a gulp and a guzzle, the wolfhound cleared it in seconds. "Manners, Fergus," Tom said automatically, then removed his elbows from the table. Elanor smiled. "Eat up," she said. "I'm very hungry too." Tom was puzzling something over. "Did you have to sit there, all strapped up in that thing, with your tea sitting in front of you?" Elanor nodded. "Ladies must learn self-restraint." "That's awful," Tom said. "Ladies must learn to not be greedy." Who strapped you up like that and left you to stare at your tea? My governess, Mistress Maldred, Elanor answered. A most estimable lady, she added, after a moment. They ate in comfortable silence, Fergus begging from first one, then the other. This made Elanor feel happy. She always had wanted a dog of her own, but Mistress Maldred said that dogs were too rough, noisy, and smelly. It was true that the wolfhound was rather malodorous, but he took the food from Eleanor's fingers with great delicacy, and when she ruffled his ears, they were soft as velvet. I never knew there was a door in my paneling, Elanor said, dabbing her mouth with a napkin. I'm not sure if I'm glad or frightened. I mean, it's nice to know I can go down to the stables and go for a ride without Mistress Maldred knowing. However, I'm not sure I like knowing that someone could creep into my room at any time of day or night. There was a key in the door. You could lock it from your side, then unlock it any time you please, Tom said. Elanor smiled. She made a plan here and then to go down and visit her pony that very afternoon. She would go for a ride by the seashore and gallop along the edge of the waves. Mistress Maldred always said that ladies must not trot or canter, or indeed go very fast or than the slowest amble. But Elanor loved to gallop. Her mother always had let her ride as fast as she liked when she was alive. A hammering came from the other side of the secret door. Elanor stood up, her throat closing over. Tom dived down behind the bed, then reached out a long arm, grabbed Fergus by his ruff, and grabbed him into the hiding too. Who's there? Elanor quavered. The secret door swung open, and a very grubby boy with flame-colored curls tumbled face first into her carpet. She recognized him at once. He was Lord Sebastian Quinn, son of the country's most powerful nobles, Lady Aidan of Ashburn Castle. Sebastian had come to live at Wolfhaven Castle for a few months earlier, as a squire in training to be a knight. Elanor straightened her back and said as coldly as she could, "Who are you? How dare you invade my private quarters?" Ladies must always command respect, she had always been told. "My lady!" Sebastian scrambled to his feet and bowed deeply, almost overbalancing. "My apologies. I was pursuing a disorderly knave. I thought he came this way." "You expect to find a knave in my private quarters?" "Ladies must be dignified at all times." No, of course not. It's just I saw his footsteps in the dust." "You do seem to have been rolling around in a great deal of filth," Elanor replied, putting her nose in the air. The redhead looked down at himself, then tried to brush the dust away. Great clouds rose all around him. "I'm sorry," he managed to sputter, his tawny-colored eyes watering. "Obviously, I was mistaken." Obviously. Ladies never disagree with the gentleman. "I'll just go. Pardon me, my lady. Sorry for all the cobwebs." Bowing low and again, the boy backed out the secret door. Elanor shut it after him, locked it, and put the key in her pocket. She felt giddy with excitement. "You were great," Tom said, crawling out from behind the bed. "Did you not see how low he bowed? His nose practically scraped the floor." Fergus bounded out, tail wagging, sending the dust swirling high again. Both Tom and Elanor sneezed and wheezed. "I shall be in terrible trouble when my governess returns," Elanor said, when she could catch her breath. "Look at how grimy my room is." "I'll help you tidy up. There's one thing I'm good at. It's cleaning." Tom took up the rug and shook it out the window, banged the cushions together, and mopped the dust off of the furniture with his napkin. "I'll take the tray away from you. Then your governess need never know you ate at all." "I can tell her, quite truthfully, that a servant cleared it away," Elanor said. Tom began to pack up the tray. "My lady," he began, rather hesitantly, wanting to tell Lady Elanor about the wild man's warning. "I've been trying all day to get a message to your father, but everyone's too busy or too... Anyway, if I tell it to you, will you let your father know?" "Oh, Elanor hesitated. "The Lord of Frostwick Castle is here most unexpectedly, to talk trade and such thing. Fathers will be busy." Ladies must never interrupt their elders. "I really do think it's important," Tom answered. Elanor bit his bit her lip, then smiled shyly. I could try, I suppose. And that is the end of chapter 4. Thank you guys for coming, and the recording will be out soon if you missed any part of this. And I will most likely be reading again tomorrow.